Hello everyone, welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Quite rare back-to-back edition. I have escaped the closet, as you can see. I did what I said yesterday, and I crafted up a makeshift desk for today. From next onwards, I should be back to normal unless something major happens between now and the next show. But yeah, for today we celebrate the first trophy of 2026. We celebrate 2 days of Olympiacos success. Two, as I saw a friend call it, two old school Olympiacos days, and a game of chaotic proportions, a game of mixed performances, a game of ups and downs for sure, a game of moments, a game of questionable moments at that. But in the end, celebrate the trophy is a celebrated trophy. And given the fact that, yeah, we took it to extra time due to one reason or another, but we ended the game in cruise control. Not much to complain about. Given the first 90, though, you'd think that Olympiacos really underestimated OFI, even though I don't think that was the case. Given the chances, of course, the most notable chance of all was the first disallowed goal of the game, because we had a few, and that was the most doubtful one, with, of course, the deflections, and Mehdi Taremi going for a bike, missing, whiffing, then Dani Podence controlling the ball with about here, and then passing it off to Mozakitis, who just completely rockets it to the back of Hadji. I forgot the name of the OFI keeper. God, give me a second. Christo Georgiou, not Hadji Georgiou. And almost immediately, even before the celebrations began, ref blows the whistle, players are confused, commentators are confused, commentators were confused even in the celebrations, so were we all. No one really made it clear enough on what caused the call of ruling out Musa's goal. I don't know if the ref thought Taremi's bike was foul play and called it off because of that. I don't know if it was a handball goal on Dani Podence. And I wish I knew, I wish I could tell you all why the goal got ruled out, but I can't. And in both cases, I know this is not worth salting over, because again, we won 3-0 and are celebrating a trophy. I'm just still very confused, if I'm being honest. And in both cases, if the ref thought that Taremi's bike attempt was foul play, there is no contact. And even if it was for a dangerous leg raise, the defender's head is like a mile away. So that's a no immediately. The handball is questionable, because I looked it back and it's on the verge. I just wish I knew what got called. And I'm glad I'm seeing similar comments to the mood I'm in. And as the title says, we open up 2026 with 338. 338, which is a number unheard of, unimaginable, indescribable, given a Greek club. But the fact that everyone responsible around all departments has actually gone in, done so much work, in which we stand here as the biggest, only semi-comparable to Gotham Barcelona multi-sport organization in the whole goddamn world. It's honestly, it's a very nice feeling to be an Olympiacos fan. It's a very nice feeling. It's a blessing, even dare I say. But going back to what I was saying, a flurry of cold back goals, a flurry of missed chances, and I'm not really gonna stand and question the other goals. I'm not really gonna sit here and say, well, yeah, this and that. For me, the other two were called back rightfully. And as Nikos Kotsis said, it's 3-3 Olympiacos with disallowed Olympiacos goal. We went into the full 90 a bit worried. Of course, there was the substitution. Let me actually go check out when that happened. It happened at the 88th minute, with Julian Biancon having to be subbed out due to an injury of which I don't think it's serious, because if I saw correctly, Biancon wanted to continue the game, so I think it's purely precaution. But little did we know that substitution would bring in the MVP of the night, who I'll get into in a bit, because I have a lot to say about Alexis Kalogeropoulos, and I'm already seeing a comment. Also, by the way, do write in the comments, for those of you that usually write in the comments, if the sound is fine, if the camera is fine, if I'm lagging, like, do let me know if something's wrong so I can fix it, because temporary setups are hard to judge. Right after that, 4 minutes after, another person that completely changed the game was Roman Yaremchuk, with Mehdi Taremi really having, despite the, of course, penalty conversion in which he's an expert, I think it's safe to say, he was lackluster performance, with his teammates not really finding him, with him really struggling to finish the chances that he did manage to pick up. And of course, we stood at the level of Roman Yaremchuk himself, having to come in, looking to create chances, having created enough chances, in my opinion. Of course, a lot of his chances were called off for offside. And I really don't know how it was that much, but still, he completely changed the game, created chances, gave us momentum, pushed us forward, and honestly, anything and everything in between. Now, moving on to extra time. Moving on to struggles that ended in extra time. Because, of course, the first thing that happened is Kostinja immediately getting subbed on. Questionable by many decision to wait that long to sub a struggling Rodinei off, but a decision that, honestly, paid off because Costinha was a vital part in everything that got created in extra time for us to end up, of course, winning the way that we did. And not long after, at the 95th, if I'm not mistaken, yes, it is the 95th, expertly, the first impact of Alexis Kalogeropoulos shows up, in which, of course, he goes in to win a header and then gets elbowed in the jaw and wins a penalty, which is converted like an absolute nuclear weapon, mind you, by Mehdi Taremi. And then the game completely changes. We push forward more, we dominate possession. Of course, Trefezza comes in, Diogo Nascimento also comes in. And before long, an incredible assist by Christos Mouragitis leads to another major impact by Alexis Kalogeropoulos, who scores, making it 2-0, basically sealing the game. A goal I thought was the winner, but little did I know as well, just 3 minutes after, in comes our most effective player this season, aside from maybe El Kabi and Chiquinho, minutes-wise as well, Yusuf Yazici. He completely destroys, he completely evaporates the OFI exhausted defense and scores one of the prettiest solo goals we've seen in quite a while, if we're being honest. And as we end up, it's a 3-0 full time, and as mentioned, it's another trophy for Olympiacos. Now, I want to give Kalogeropoulos a warm hug after today's match. What a performance! What a performance indeed. What's there to say about Kalogeropoulos? And I'll start with him. I'll keep this comment up. I have been preaching to the goddamn heavens about Alexis Kalogeropoulos ever since his goddamn debut under Pedro Martins. Long before RSP even existed as an idea, I've been following that kid very, very strongly. I was relatively surprised. Also, I hope my voice is bearable. I am probably getting sick, so excuse me for how up and down my voice is going to sound throughout this one. But when he went to Volos for 2 years, on one hand, I was hesitant. On the other hand, I was very happy because he avoided the absolute hellhole that was Olympiacos before Mendilibar. That in between of Pedro and Mendilibar, Kalogeropoulos completely avoided that. Gained the Super League experience needed, was crucial for Volos and everything they've achieved while he was there. And then he comes back. And he comes back better than ever, more improved than ever, and willing to earn his place. And so he does, which leads us to today, which is his first MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Another goal, immediate impact from the bench. And as I said with Jolakis, for example, and his saves, a big portion of this trophy, hence him getting the MVP, is his. We're witnessing a wonderful defensive talent that we produced, which hasn't happened in a minute, mind you, alongside his front runners, which are, I hope that's the right word, I don't know why I hesitated, which are Panos Retsos and Lorenzo Pirola. He's now right beside Julian Biancon, and he's proving that he's much more than a fifth choice centre back. He's gonna take the reins eventually, and there's no doubt in my mind that we're witnessing another great one. We're witnessing greatness truly unfold, and we're witnessing a generation of our boys that bleed red and white, take over. And I feel like that's the best thing to happen under a coach like Mendilibar. And getting into Mendilibar, I have many a time said that he's the best coach in our history, and I will stand by the goddamn statement. Not only, of course, mainly, but not only for the Conference League, but for all the constant success that he keeps bringing. And that statement, as time goes on and his tenure goes on, will keep strengthening. Because even this season, on our return of the on our return in the Champions League after so many years, we're still in it for the knockouts. Mind you, it's very hard, but we're still in it for the knockouts. And if we get knockout football in the Champions League, the success that Mendy will bring goes up not just a level, but 10. And not just now, long term as well. Long term and easily as well. And as that continues to happen, two things are going to strengthen. Also, don't mind me looking that way. I hope everything's recording fine. My laptop completely crashed, so I hope everything's going well. But as I was saying, two things are going to happen. One of those things is going to be critics showing up more, because we've all seen that when he has a very strict and honestly lovely type of football that brings up some issues as well. But that football will always prove him right in the end. And again, criticism is perfectly accepted, and that's what I'll get into as well. And proper critics should always be there, no matter who we're talking about, really. Whether we're talking about the worst of the worst or the best of the best, critics are always necessary. But there is a big one. Now, the big asterisk on this thing is that critics are here, and people with vile inventions are here. And while those shouldn't even come close, one can easily be confused with the other. And in Greek fan bases, in our fan base, in which I can speak of, honestly, the best, with the best knowledge, that's for sure, a lot of that shows up. What was written in terms of just Mendilibar and how he treated the game throughout said game in the first 90 is unbelievable. I even question some stuff, and I'll get into that because I will stand by my ground, I'll stand on my words. But calling Mendy, who again, in my opinion and in many's opinion, is our best coach of all time. First of all, this old man thing has to stop. But calling Mendy stupid up to a point, calling him useless and everything like that, where all he does is bring constant success to Olympiacos, just shines the wrong light on you, not Mendilibar. And as we stand here, it's just funny to look at those tweets and call them out. But falling back a bit to the critics, there's two things that I've said about Mendilibar many times, and I'll stand on them. One is the whole Yusuf Yazici situation, that I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record on, but it's a fair point to bring up. And the other one's the subs. Now, speaking in terms of the subs today, his plan clearly worked out perfectly, so there's not much to say. But in general, Mendy holds out to make subs late. And we've seen that more than ever this season. And again, it's not the timing that's the problem. I don't remember the game in which I've used that example on. I think it's Kifisia, but I'm not sure. And that example combines it with the Yusuf Yazici situation. For example, I'm not, of course, not going to talk about the Kalogeropoulos sub that was done as a necessity, and I'm not going to talk about the Yaremchuk sub, which was also done out of correct planning, right? And then you have Kostinya coming in at the 91st, which was also necessarily done, but for performance reasons. And then you have Gabriel Strefetsa one, which again, Gabriel didn't really go on to have a bad game per se, because it wasn't a bad game. It really wasn't a bad game. But if you bring on Yusuf Yazici, even given that you waited until extra time, which again, in my opinion, if you manage to go on and bring on Yusuf Yazici in normal time, we probably win. We probably win the Supercup in the first 90, but that's a whole different story. But if he brings on Yazici, in my opinion, again, for Strefetsa, not for Strefetsa, in place of Strefetsa, and brings on Strefetsa later, game gets end way faster because Yazici is the perfect person to break defenses like Office. Which again, let me make a small parenthesis here. Props to OFI. Props to OFI because they are a proper mid-table team. OFI is a team that plays football, doesn't dive every 5 seconds, tries to get the win, fights for it, creates the necessary chances to actually go on and win the games. But, of course, as I said, for Yusuf Yazici, he is the type of player to break these things apart. And if my connection of points makes sense, Mendy sticking to his, I've called it comfort zone before, and I'll call it comfort zone again. If he keeps sticking to his comfort zone, in regards of a player like Yazici, we're going to lose a quality player. I don't really want to think that this was Yazici's farewell, even though it got called out as that. But I don't want to think that this was Yazici's farewell. And I am, of course, in favor of Mendy's wants, because ultimately he is the coach, he knows better. But if we do end up messing up that bad, because we've already wronged Yazici, given what he's given back which I'm sure without having double checked, I think it's 6 goals and 6 assists now. And the incredible quality and the incredible solution to the creative issue we have he brings to the team. Him asking to leave, of course, isn't anything insane. Then the team has an obligation to bring a player of similar or better quality that fits in this fold. But, and we're switching over to purely personal opinion here, I would rather a solution be found with Yusuf Yazici and him getting more game time, as impossible as that may seem right now, than risking it with another player. Of course, there is a lot of choices, but we're seeing a player that's giving us everything in minimal time. We're seeing a player that gives us everything in minimal time. I wanted to put this comment up. I forgot. I'm putting it up now. And there is nothing in my mind that can go on to doubt that he would give even more with more game time. So I would rather a solution be found there than risking it with another player. What I wanted to say, though, ultimately, is that I wanted to prove the point that you can criticize someone properly and still recognize their greatness. It's not the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. There is properly placed opinions and the in-between. You don't have to demolish everything. That's my point. It's what I've been preaching about all the time, and what I've probably gotten so tiring about. Criticism is needed. Demolition is not. There is a big difference, and we're not keeping it. And my extra advice is that let's wait before we start going nuclear on players or the coach until after a game is done. Because again, this happens more in basketball. This is perhaps the first time or second time I'm seeing it this big in football. We need to wait sometimes. And I'm saying we because I am putting myself in this situation. I am really putting myself in this situation. We need to stand there and wait until the game is done before we go on and express certain stuff, talk about certain stuff, criticize certain stuff. Because we can look back, as I'm doing now, and make specific points, even on the more negative side, while celebrating such a victory. But going on to push an agenda about the coach or a certain player or a few players or whoever in between, and actually falter in it because whoever you push the agenda on proves you completely wrong, it's just a bad look. It's nothing more than a bad look. Now, getting past the more general image of the game, let's go on and talk about performances, shall we? I've touched on Yazici, I've touched on Kalogeropoulos, and sort of skim by those. But the first one I wanted to fully focus on was Kostas Zolakis. Kostas Zolakis again proving why the people that are doubting him are either hating for the sole reason that he's Olympiacos or don't know a smidge of football, and also proving why he's the best goddamn goalkeeper in this goddamn country. And also proving, sadly for us, why he's so ready to start in a top club. Kept us in it before a goal had even been scored, made a crucial run out when the normal time of the game was ending, and made a crucial save right after the penalty, where I'm pretty sure it was Eddie Salcedo ran out. There's no words to say about Zoulakis. Truly, there is nothing to really go on and doubt about Zoulakis anymore. Yeah, he had a period where he was down this season, and I was one of the first to tell you all to wait on it. I was one of the first to tell you all to actually take a step back, take a goddamn breather, and let the kid work on his game and gain back his confidence as he has. I get that he hasn't had the best of seasons, but is there really a doubt that he is the best keeper in this country? And not just in Greece, the best Greek keeper as well. Is there really any way to doubt that anymore? I don't think there is. And people somehow go on to forget the fact that Zoulakis is still very young. Of course, he was also on the list of goalkeepers with the most clean sheets in 2025. I'm pretty sure he had 22 in 42, if I'm not completely mistaken. But he still gets haters because he's a Greek playing in Greece. I've said the two categories of haters, and we're building back to my point again. There was stuff to criticize about Zoulakis this season. There have been moments where he lost his head as well. But the blame and the pressure put on him is unfair at minimum. It's unfair at minimum because he's given it all back. He's responded properly to that pressure. More than properly, dare I say. But there has been moments where he lost his head. And he got called out on it. And he knows. He probably called himself out on it as well. And he stood back, worked on his flaws, and we saw the Zoulakis that we did today, for example. So we need to be patient in general. We need to be more patient. Speaking of probably the complete opposite of what I did in regards to Zoulakis now. Rodinei. Rodinei has been a divisive subject this season. Rodinei has very sadly underperformed after his injury return. And Rodinei, once again, while he's still very good attackingly, shows two major flaws. One is his striking back, because I'm sorry, but OFI were having a party down his side. And two is his set pieces. It's a similar thing of an image replaying in my head with the whole missed dunk yesterday, for those of you that watched the basketball and the show after. That free kick where he hits it and it goes up instead of going forward keeps replaying in my head. We have Moussakitis, for example. We have Danny Podens for the free kicks as well. After a point, we have El Kabi. I don't think Rodinei should be on set piece duty anymore at all. I think the main thing should be given to Christos Moussakitis, And then below him, players like Podence, players like Elkabi, and so on and so forth to the list. I just think he needs to fall back from that duty a bit. And again, I have all the love and respect for Rodinei, and you all know that, but I would love to see Costinha start more. For example, I wanted Costinha to start today. I said the last time out as well, and I don't know why he didn't. But in the end, it all worked out, so there's not much to complain about. Now, Biancon and Rechos. The sign on the center backs will go towards Kalogeropoulos, and rightfully so, but Biancon and Rechos were both incredible. Of course, the moment to remember is Biancon almost turning into Ayub El-Kabi and scoring a bicycle kick, which I still am in pure shock about. And honestly, that would have been goal of the season, undoubtedly so. But, of course, on the defensive duties as well, they were great. Biancon was way more active as well. And I dare say Rechos had a Rechos game, very solid, very calm. But dare I say this was Biancon's best game of the season, best performance of the season. And of course, he had to get injured because God damn it. Now, a quieter one. Ortega. I'm more confused about Ortega's game. I'm more confused on the quietness of it because I feel like Ortega had a very mixed game. I feel like he started off very well and he dropped off and he went on to play very well again, then he dropped off again. Very up and down game mixed with the vibe of the game in general. No real comments or complaints, though. Now, to who was the front runner for MVP up until Kalogeropoulos did his thing, to who had a masterful assist, to whose goal got so wrongfully called back again, in my opinion, and to perhaps one of, if not the greatest midfield project we've produced as a club, the man that has no ceiling in his career, and the man that will also miss so much when he inevitably goes probably this summer, Christos Moussakitis. I've said the same comment about Moussakitis that I will keep saying. He's bossing every midfield, he's bossing every game, and for as long as we can appreciate him in an Olympiacos shirt, the team needs to be built around him. And his perfect partner seems to be Santi Esse, who covers him perfectly, not fixes the few flaws that he has, but molds his game with Moussakitis' game incredibly, and they're bossing the midfield together. It's as simple as that. And in front of them was Chiquinho. Chiquinho, of course, who got subbed off when he did. Chiquinho had more of a quiet game than usual. Of course, helped, as Chiquinho always does, but he had more of a quiet game. Now, I skimmed past Chiquinho a bit because I wanted to go to the contrast of wingers that we had. A man that had one of his best and most effective, which is his main issue, games with Olympiacos, and the man that had a mediocre to very bad game with Olympiacos. Now, bad things first. Danny Podence. Against this team, when a player like Jazic isn't playing, the main player that can destroy them on his good day is Danny Podence. Danny was not on his good day. Danny should have an assist to his name today, which would have not just elevated, completely airlifted his game, but he didn't. And he had a quiet and non-effective game, which is not what we need from Danny Podence. Now, the fact that he's been having a dip in form doesn't really make up for the things being said again. I still am of the opinion that keeping Danny is a necessity, more than a necessity, honestly, because again, we run into the same issue where we can't find a winger to replace Danny. And a dip in form will end, as it always does, because quality always overcomes. He needs to work hard, fix up, concentrate, lock in. And so as the Danny we all know and love. Let me actually catch the question before I move on, because I have a lot of things to say about Zelson. What do you think about today's trio in the center of our team? Eze, Musa, and Chiquinho. That's about what I touched on, despite me skimming past Chiquinho. As much as I completely love this trio, my only real complaint is that I would love to see Chiquinho fall back to the 8 a bit more. Starting with this trio seems to be the ideal scenario. But, for example, the more ideal scenario would be starting with Musa, Eze, and Chiquinho, and then when games need it, like today, we take out Eze, we let Chiquinho fall back to his natural role a bit more, and we put Yazici at the 10. That would be ideal. Or, for example, Fortuny is coming back. But with our now assets, I feel like that's the ideal trio to start games. We'll see how that goes. Now, moving back to the other side of the wings, and a player that deserves a lot of credit from today, and that's Zelson Martins. Zelson suddenly had his goal, his incredible goal, got called back for offside because of Yaremchuk. Because damn, was Yaremchuk offside a lot. Again, no real complaints about Roman Yaremchuk, but it's funny up until a point. Zelson, for the first time in a minute, seemed very confident in his game, seemed very effective in his game, created chances, looked to create chances, had a lot of key passes, and should have a goal if it wasn't for that offside goal. So honestly, all props to him. Now, going to the second negative of the game, and the second and final negative of the game, and that's Mehdi Taremi. I don't know what's going on with Taremi. I don't know if it's still an ongoing injury. I don't know if it's still just a natural decline of the game. I don't know if something's happening with the game time. A lot can be speculated. I don't want to start speculating because there is enough speculating in the media. But he's slow. That's one of the main issues. He's slow. He's slower than needed. He doesn't really show the game awareness that he did starting off. And again, his production is immense. His production is incredible. But I'd rather see Yaremchuk start. Mehdi coming off the bench for someone like Ayub is an ideal scenario. But I think today was a prime example that Mehdi Taremi can't be starting for Olympiacos. And perhaps that goes back a bit to the whole point of the Iranian fans, the Persian fans, coming in and saying, "Oh, Taremi should have gone to a better team, a team where he's guaranteed starting time." I don't think, and that's no disrespect to the incredible career of Mehdi Taremi, but I don't think he can be starting game in, game out anymore. He is he's an incredible super sub. But if games go like today, he can't be starting because he missed his calf. Yeah, okay, creativity was an issue, so I'm not gonna fully fault it on Taremi, but the chances he did get his calf completely, and the goal adds to his incredible production quality. But again, that production quality can come better for when he's coming in or well rested and can break defenses himself as well. Now, as a starter, problems showed up. Problems that don't need to be showing up. I spoke about Yaremchuk, I believe he changed the game completely. Speaking about Costinha, I completely forgot to mention that he got an assist, of course. He didn't just create, he got an assist. Strefezza and Nascimento had okay games, and then, of course, Yazid's incredible quality. And we start the year off perfectly. As perfectly as it gets. And now, of course, after we have, if I'm not mistaken, let me actually go check. Yeah, we have Atromitos, and Asteras, and then I'm pretty sure the cup is supposed to be somewhere in there. I can't really remember when we play the cup. Now, do write it in the comments. Do correct me if you remember. We have Atromitos and Asteras in the league, and then we have Leverkusen, which is going to be a game and a half. Up until then, though, moves should be made, reinforcements should come, and we should be in an even better position than we were today. Celebrate the cup. We deserve to celebrate the title. We earned the title. And 2026 is going to be insanely big for the team. I truly believe it. Thank you all for bearing with me on these makeshift setups. From next show, everything should be normal. I hope today was more than bearable. I hope nothing showed up. I'm glad with the interactions, questions, and thoughts as always. Hope you all enjoyed. Do check out everything in the description, and I'll see you all soon. As always, and I can do it properly this time, not from a closet. Thank you.